All right, so welcome into BuffaloPlus.com as well as our YouTube page, Buffalo Plus. Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I am Jenna Cottrell. We are getting you ready as the Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship on Sunday. A lot of talk about the quarterbacks in this matchup. Of course, Josh Allen. Will it be Patrick Mahomes? It's trending like that direction. But tonight we're going to talk about something a little bit different. It's going to be the other key players in this matchup that are not named Allen or Mahomes. So, Mike, I want to start with you. Who's someone that catches your eye that is going to be huge in this game on Sunday?
Chad Henne.
You're a troll.
Well, I would say this. Look, if it ain't Patrick Mahomes, Chad better be ready to go. I would say this. I think Travis Kelce is as our buddy Dan Orlovsky thinks he's the best non-quarterback in the NFL, at his position. And I got to say, he is a nightmare. And I know they have other nightmares in Kansas City. They've got some talented players. But, man, Kelce he's just that good. And the Bills have had trouble with tight ends. And we're not, he beat him for a touchdown even in the game, do that much. So, off the top of my head, not that it's going so, say, the all-pro tight end is going to be a problem. But, Dan, I don't think the Bills match up well with them as much as we like what Milano can do. And I didn't play in the first matchup, but Kelce's a guy you really got to pay attention to.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dynamic because, Matt Milano didn't play back in week 6 when they matched up. And, the stats been floating out there all week that the Bills are undefeated in games that Matt Milano has played this year. Like I said, we've also been a Matt Milano podcast and stand account here to say that he's going to get paid and get paid a lot by some team. Now, that's going to be Brandon Beane's decision this offseason. But, it's an interesting dynamic to see how you handle Kelce, how you handle Tyreek Hill, like I said. And that's why when Sean McDermott was asked yesterday, how much, whether it's Mahomes or Chad Henne, how much does that affect his game planning? And I feel like he really is also concerned about Kelce. I think he's concerned about Tyreek Hill. He's concerned about McCole Hardman that can go over the top. Like, they have a lot of weapons. He's got to play better. The Bills have to play better in special teams than they did the first time they played. Like, again, this is all a better team, the Bills are, than when they played back in week 6. But Sean McDermott said it best. They were outplayed. They were outcoached, in all facets of the game. So whether it's a little bit of Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer both kind of switching on and off, whether we see a little bit more Dean Marlowe, who is a guy that has come in weird, in that nickel role to kind of spell Teron Johnson and be that guy to cover tight ends, because Dean Marlowe is the 6'2" guy. He's probably the bigger one that can cover him. So interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, I think I look back to that game earlier on when Kelce had 2 touchdowns in that game and against the Bills earlier in the season. And I think back to that Browns game on Sunday where Travis Kelce muscled his way into the end zone, had that great catch, had 3 guys draped on him and still could get into the end zone. And he is someone that he's a scary guy because of that threat that he brings, how accountable he's been this season and seasons past. And we've seen the Bills struggle in covering tight ends. I think of Miami's tight end, Mike Gesicki. He's a guy that has been able to do damage to the Bills.
Darren Waller.
Yeah, Waller, Raiders, another good call.
The Rams tight end early in the year.
Yep.
That has been a problem for them. By the way, the Kelces, they're right up there with the Watts and the Boses, right? As the best family.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. I the Watts. I think the Watts are funnier, but personally.
Wait, hold on. First of all, Jason Kelce's speech after the eagles won the Super Bowl.
Okay, yes. It was very good. It was,
of course, all of that, everything he said that day is now accurate. We're not good enough. Doug Peterson can't coach. All that stuff is now true about the Eagles. But Jason Kelce is just a guy hasn't missed a game in forever. Yeah. And his brother is the best tight end in football. So that's pretty good. Like the Watts and the Boses, that's a pretty good family.
Yeah, I would say so. He's just another weapon, though. We mentioned Tyreek Hill earlier. And that's someone also that is scary to face up against. I mean, we know his speed, how he can just break through plays. He's so dynamic. And he is someone that, while I would consider the Bills defense, and you heard a lot on the broadcast on Sunday or Saturday, them talking about how the Bills have a fast defense. But at the same point, you can't match that speed, Dan.
No, but you can scheme against it. And that was the one thing that the Browns, I didn't think, did a very good job at. I thought Tony Romo explained it really well, how good of a job that Andy Reid does. He pretty much runs a post route like a corner. Like he doesn't run vertically, he runs slants across the field. And whether or not, like, the safety they kept showing on the Browns broadcast was just too slow to come down and make that spot. So It's an interesting dynamic to try and scheme that up. But I always feel like when a broadcaster knows something or points something out, that the coaches also have to know this. like if Tony Romo spends 3 days prepping for this broadcast and prepping for the game, and he knows, like, this is the play, and he's got a team, doesn't a coaching staff also go, hey, you know what this guy keeps doing? He keeps running across the field a lot. Like, we got to find some way to figure it out.
Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, you're Tony Romo, and you're looking for that. But the defense is accounting for everybody. So, and Romo's really good at it, but you're looking for something. You're looking for why Tyreek Hill gets open. But Kelce's on the field, and Mahomes is on the field, right? So I'm saying is, if that's all you had to worry about was Tyreek Hill, okay, that's a little easier to scheme around.
But Mike, you're focusing on trends. So much they talk about is like Trey White's film study, and he recognizes trends. They run this pattern or this route or this formation, and this is what they do out of it. If Tyreek Hill lines up in the slot, more than half the time he's running these little over the cross, like vertical slant routes.
And if you move your hips a quarter the wrong way, anyhow. Thing about him, he is so unreal with his speed and his quickness and his movement. And I was thinking about it, like, obviously Chad Henne is not Patrick Mahomes, but with those type of weapons, I think the opportunity to get them the ball is less because it's Chad Henne, right? He's going to make that play, guys open, throw him the ball. The difference with Mahomes is you got to cover that guy like 3 times because Mahomes is there. I mean, you know what I'm saying is, like, he can find him first look, later, and by the time he sets up for the 3rd time in the pocket, you still have to be covering him. So that's where these guys are. I believe they're dangerous, those players. Hey, it's Stefon Diggs, right, on the Bills side. He's unguardable. Yeah. Josh sometimes finds him on the first look, and sometimes you're like, how did he get by everybody? Yeah. Try covering him while Allen is keeping his eyes downfield and looking for him. If it was Matt Barkley in the game, you'd still have a tough time with Stefon Diggs on that first move because he's so good. But the problem is the combination that they have with Mahomes and those guys is better be ready to cover them for a long time, and that's tough to do.
No, but Mike, my point is that you look at trends, you look at what teams like to do, and how can you take away their strengths to play that cat and mouse game during the year. You saw what Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott were able to scheme up against Lamar Jackson. They took away what they did. Now, they didn't do it on every single play, but it's that fact of we know what the Chiefs offense does. Now, they said Andy Reid is maybe the most aggressive thoughtful guy. I mean, he's been one of the best play callers as the NFL has changed over the last 2 decades. So it's not like this is a simple guy where Andy Reid's going to come out and throw the same play over and over again. I'm just saying there are trends and that the Bills need to take away certain things. And whether that's Tyreek Hill's crossing route over the middle or Travis Kelce's go route, like you have to be able to take away one because you can't let them. They looked like the Browns looked like they had 10 guys on the field. That's what I'm saying. You have to be able to take one of these things away.
You have to. But, okay, so I would reverse it to the Bills and say to scheme up against them. Now, Cole Beasley did not look like Cole Beasley this past. No. It could have been for health. It could have been for the way they were trying to play him. The Bills didn't have the ball that much. But what I'm getting at is teams know what Diggs is going to do. They know what Beasley's going to do, and they were still getting the ball. Because they beat their man most of the time. So you're right. You may know that, but you talked about last week playing against that high school offense. This ain't a high school offense. The pre-snap motions alone get guys twisted and, you know, into a pretzel and figure out what to do, because that little move they make with Hill alone, motion, and then quickly going back across, he is so quick at doing that. And you saw what he did. I mean, then he gets open. I mean, he's just, you know, and you see the Packers. It's funny. You see the Packers do some of that stuff with Adams, type of player, but he's so quick across the line. And even the most talented guys like Jalen Ramsey knew what they were going to do, still couldn't sit there and still couldn't make the play because the guy is that fast. So these are difference makers, obviously. And you're right. This is where Leslie and Sean McDermott earn their money.
We got some good comments rolling in. A lot of love from everyone, so we appreciate that. Paul, I wanted to shout him out. Rossi saying, miss Dan and Jenna in the Southern tier. So I wanted to give Paul a shout out because we know we miss some of our time back there. We had a lot of fun.
I was in the Southern tier in 1986.
Yes, actually. How many years ago was that, Mike?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. It was before the Bills made the playoffs. It was the year Jim Kelly signed with the Bills. How about that?
Wow. We're going way back.
Yeah.
Way back. We got some good comments. If anyone has any questions, be sure to send them in as well. We talked so much about the offense, and there is so much more to unpack because, I mean, they are that good. They've been that good. Now, I'm curious because we've seen this team in terms of the Chiefs play so well. We know how experienced they are. But is there any thought to how they've been able to kind of edge out a lot of teams as of recently? I know they had rest. They rested guys in week 17. They didn't play last week. But is there any concern with that momentum, considering, you know, this league capitalizes on those mistakes? And if Mahomes, Dan, is not 100%, are they going to be able to just flip that switch and have everything go according to how they're used to seeing it go?
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic because they do have that ability. And again, we're kind of going into this week believing that Patrick Mahomes will clear concussion protocol. I don't know if you saw the great idea by Colin Cowherd that the NFL should hold the game until he clears concussion protocol.
Outrageous.
He doesn't really believe that. You know that.
No, but it's funny.
I mean, that's his, like, there shouldn't be a draft and every player is going to want to sign in a state with no state income tax. Like, he has all these things he says because he's a talk show guy. They're not holding the game. The only way you could see that happening is if there was some COVID issue and they felt like that was unfair to play the game because they had to. But I'm saying is, but during this, I heard him say that. You're going to wait for Mahomes. Really? Let's wait for Zach Moss to get
Mike gets so fired up. Mike's Dan's going to bring this up again. Like, here he goes again.
Yes, I know where you're going. You're saying is because Mahomes is going to play, but he may not be.
He has the toe, heel, foot injury as well.
That I think will be more of an issue with this offense. But again, this is a team that has won with Chad Henne before. They've won games. You know, it's an interesting dynamic that, like I said, there are so many tons of weapons. And like also, Steve Spagnuolo, I don't think we talk enough about going against the Chiefs, like a really smart defensive-minded guy. They do force turnovers. Like, they were the defense 2 years ago that I looked at the most, and I said, like, you don't need to be a great defense to win games. You just need to have a good offense, and that can be your defense. Like, they do get a lot of sacks because teams are playing from behind, and the defensive ends can pin their ears back and just rush the quarterback. But Tyrann Mathieu, a bunch of guys, like, they are aggressive. This is a team with dynamic playmakers on both sides of the ball. And Jenna, like you talk about it, I think this team has kind of been in cruise control for the last half of the season. You know, I think they always kind of had the Bills in their rear view mirror. And as long as they were just an arm's length away, they were like, all right, like we're fine. Now, I don't know. I don't know if they can flip the switch, Jenna, without Mahomes, because the quarterback means so much. It's the same thing if you were to say Matt Barkley was playing. What do you think the Bills' chances are? Like, they're a backup quarterback for a reason. Yeah. But going with the impact that Patrick Mahomes will be playing, they can flip the switch. And it doesn't have to be even Mahomes. It can be jet sweeps to Hardman or Hill or shuffle passes. Like, Mahomes doesn't have to be MVP Mahomes for the Chiefs to win this game. And that's what's scary about Kansas City.
Well, we saw that when they played earlier this season. They did a good job of containing Mahomes. It was just the run game that was so effective.
Right. I think they did. Did they do a good job of containing Mahomes, or did Andy just sort of say, hey, LeBron, just pass the ball in this game?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what it was, right? I kept feeling like, Mahomes never got pushed in that game. And the Bills, I kept using the word passive is the way they played in that game.
Yeah.
Like I said to you, I'm glad because
Timid.
they didn't show anything because I think they're going to play very differently this week. But to your point about turning it on, no, even on Sunday against Cleveland, the Browns had that, misfortune of that play at the goal line, which we can all say the same thing. Everybody hates that rule. Right. Yeah. The NFL keeps that. Football in general keeps that rule in. But the Browns made those mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. And they did that. And they still weren't pulling away from them. They were controlling the ball the whole first half. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, the Browns are still in this game. And then Mahomes got hurt. They were still in the game, though. They were. And then they got that turnover to start the third quarter. And then they missed the field goal. And then the Browns went down and scored. And it was a game. And then Mahomes got hurt. And then it was, okay, this is where it was. So I kind of look at it and say they have not done that. They haven't pulled away from anybody. Yes, they did rest guys. They're fortunate they rested guys at the end of the year. So Henne got a little playing time. And he was able to make a few plays for him and win the game because the Browns get the ball back. Who knows what happens there? But I don't think they're that team at the moment. They do it in spurts, even with Mahomes. Like there are spurts where you're going, how does anybody stop this team? Mm-hmm. Look up, it's a one-score game.
Well, and again, I don't know what the Browns' game plan was, and I feel like we're breaking that game down because it was the most recent game, and you're only as good as your last game. But the Browns really did play, don't get beat over the top. Like that's been their mentality all year. And Patrick Mahomes just said, fine, we'll take 7 yards a pop. They ran like 20-something plays before they got to a third down.
Yeah.
Like it was absurd that every single person was open. So like while we talk about this offense being so explosive with Tyreek Hill and all these things they can do, Damian Williams was running for 8 yards a pop. Mm-hmm. And then they were hitting somebody over them, a dink pass that was going for 6 yards. And you just went like, they had like their opening drive was like 6 minutes where like I'm used to seeing Tyreek Hill catches the ball and then just runs faster than everybody. Right. And you're like, oh, they scored in 30 seconds. Yeah. This was an offense that like downshifted and said, fine, you're going to take away our deep ball. Andy Reid's like, fine, Patrick Mahomes and I will just dink and dunk your way. Not to say that they can't, but Mike, it was just a different gear. I felt that that they showed that just goes to show you the versatility, the coaching, the pedigree of like the Browns were like, we're not going to get beat over the top. Okay, fine. We'll beat you underneath. And that is what is so challenging.
They took what was there.
Yeah. Well, at one point, I think they had run 20 plays and had 11 first downs.
Yeah. Absurd.
Right. I mean, that's nuts. But like I said, yes, I think they have 19 points at halftime. So you go, okay, it's their 38-point game. And then Mahomes, I know he got hurt, but what I'm getting at is like there are times you watch the Chiefs. Look at the 2 playoff games last year, not the Super Bowl as much because they never really got going in the Super Bowl. They grinded that game out. But the 2 playoff games where they were down and just exploded to come back in those games to win. Haven't seen that from them in the last month and a half, 2 months.
They did it against Miami.
They were that stretch.
They were down 10-0 and then scored 34 points in the blink
after Mahomes had turned it over 3 times in the first half.
Yeah, that was wild.
Nick Wright did not see that game. I don't think his cable was working.
It was an objective fact.
By the way, speaking of that, how about Bill's social media?
Love it.
What do you mean?
They went after Stephen A. Smith. And then they went after Nick Wright.
Nick Wright, I saw that.
I said, man, that
is
here
for this league.
They are. I said they were talking head hunting.
Talking head hunting.
Well, I thought that was interesting, Jenna, because McDermott said yesterday that it was business as usual. They've gone through all of the slogans. First, it was find a way, Jenna. Then it was control what you can control.
Yep.
And now it is business as usual. But he did say, McDermott said, it's all about, like I said, for the Bills players not having a ton of experience in playing this big of games, the coaching staff is chocked full of guys that have been here before.
Brian Daboll.
Whether it's Leslie Frazier, Brian Daboll's in his 9th AFC championship. McDermott has coached in 3 AFC. This will be his 3rd AFC championship. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. But he goes, you got to limit the distractions and the outside noise. Well, nobody told the social media account guy because they went off, and I loved it, Jenna. I don't know about you.
No, it was funny to see that because I feel like for so long, the Bills have been, let's be real, they've been one of the laughing stocks in terms of teams in the league. Like, it was really easy to do a cheap shot to Buffalo. And now with how the team has been playing and like how bright the future looks with Allen and how much of a jump this team has taken. And the fact that, could Brian Daboll be coming back for another year and everything with that, I think now, they're only one of 4 teams playing this weekend.
Yes. And that's what I would say is Bills fans are going to have to realize something, that now you're being judged like one of the great teams. Yes. So Jenna says they used to be the one picked on. Not picking on the Bills when they say, I think Baltimore can knock them off. Baltimore could have won that game. Yeah. Bills offense scored 1 touchdown, right? Yep. They were driving to tie it. Obviously, the Colts could have beaten them. This is the playoffs. They're all good teams. But what I'm getting at is, like, it's not like who wants to go to Buffalo. It was only a couple years ago that was the joke. Heck, when they traded for Diggs, it was like, do you really want to go to Buffalo? And obviously, we knew about the whole Antonio Brown thing the year before.
Yeah.
Now, the Bills are no longer that team. They're the team people envy now. They look and they go, wow, look what they have together. But now you're a real team. You're in this game. Some people are going to pick the Bills. Some people are going to pick the Chiefs. But we're actually analyzing this as real games with great players. Yeah. You know what I'm saying is you've now reached that status. And
this is
legitimate people can say, man, I think Kansas City's going to win. I think, who's left?
This isn't some Cinderella story by the Bills. Yeah. This isn't some wild card team that squeaked in and now is playing in the championship. And it's funny, Jenna, you talk about that they've been the butt of the joke. Yeah. They've been the butt of the joke, but they really haven't even been discussed because they've been so irrelevant. Like they don't even get made fun of on the shows. The Browns get made fun of. The Cowboys get made fun of. Like, other teams get made fun of. The Bills were so far below being made fun of. They were irrelevant. So it's an interesting thing that now they're not only being talked about, but now it's like Nick Wright wants to get some clicks and wants to get some interest. Yeah. And it's like, Bills stink. And like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what's going on. And it's like, I'm shocked to hear that this week again, he's saying that the Bills have no chance.
Yeah. Hey, look, if you're him, you're all in, you're a Chiefs fan. They're just going for, the attention. It's kind of what those guys do. And it makes for better TV. Like, if you don't like him and the Bills win the game, right? Well, if you're a Bills fan, you don't like him, Bills win the game, you can't wait to see him eat crow on Monday. So he gets you to watch, or he gets you to click. So that's what they're going for there. I'm saying is what they're talking about now is like real football. Like, you know what I mean? It's not big picture. What coach doesn't want to go to Buffalo? How can they ever get a quarterback? It's like, can they win the Super Bowl? So they are that team now. They are right there. But the other thing I wanted to say about that is you got to take advantage of it now. This just, I look back as thinking about the 4 in a row making the Super Bowl, and everybody talks about it, but think about it, even the Patriots never did that with all the things that they getting to this game. Take Tom Brady out of the mix with his 14th championship game that he's playing. But this is so special to get there, and it's not guaranteed, right? This could have ended 2 weeks ago. It could have ended next week. And I'm not worried about next year and whether Brian Daboll comes back and what they do with the running game and all this other stuff. Your chance is now. This isn't about next year. Now, the Bills legitimately can win the Super Bowl. They certainly can go. And I think you have to take advantage of it now. It would still be a successful year if you didn't win, but you're going to be kicking yourself when you're this close, and you can win.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what has made this matchup so fun, is the fact that the Bills have grinded their way here and they are playing at a level where they are a team that's still alive. They've been able to win. We've seen Josh Allen and the offense take the steps. We saw the defense stand on their head yesterday. And I'm curious, like, this week at practice, because there's going to be a lot of fans. It's going to be the biggest crowd for the Bills in terms of the season at Arrowhead Stadium. And those fans, are not going to be rooting for the Bills. So how do you just crank up the crowd noise at practice, Dan? Like, how do you prepare that? This is actually going to be my question to McDermott tomorrow, is you have so few guys that have conference championship game experience. What is your message to your players about, you mentally game plan, you physically put the plan together, but how do you emotionally deal with the side of nerves? Because let's be real, we're all human and it's a huge moment.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because they haven't felt nerves since Houston. Like, in all honesty, they haven't felt road nerves since Houston.
Yeah.
And that place was so loud. And Arrowhead's going to have, I believe, 17,000 fans at the game. And it'll be loud. And they don't, as Mike joked around about earlier, but it's not a joke, they didn't really seem to socially distance or care all that much about socially distancing, especially in the lower bowl. So it will be loud. And I'm not really 100% sure how you can simulate that when you haven't done it in so long. Josh hasn't had to worry about going to a silent count. The offensive line hasn't had to deal with making checks where you literally have to get up in front of people's faces. And Josh hasn't had to make last second. Josh will not be able to change the play at 5 seconds. He can do that before. We've heard him do it. We've heard him do it all season long. And it'll be interesting to hear what Sean McDermott's answer is to that tomorrow, Jenna, because my thought would be you can't. Like, it's just going to have to be something they're going to have to learn on the fly. That's not to say they've never done it. And that's not to say, like, I'm sure comments will be like, well, of course they can do it, Dan. They've done it before. This has been such a unique season where I remember Micah Hyde saying yesterday, last week, dealing with Baltimore's offense, you had to forget 25 weeks of prep to deal with Baltimore's offense. The Bills will have to relearn something that they haven't had to deal with in over a year going to Houston. And Houston was so loud. Yeah. Was so loud. And that was a wild card game. This is going to be a championship game, Mike.
Yeah, and they got rattled in that second half.
Yes.
And the noise did not help because the fans
disagree. 17,000 fans. 17,000 fans will be a lot. It'll be the most the Bills. It'll be the most the Bills have played in all year.
Look, the Chiefs Arrowheads, they got good fans, very loyal fans in Kansas City, and they'll be loud. And it's it's for the rights to go back to the Super Bowl again. And we heard how loud 6,700 is in Orchard Park, and it impacted the Ravens, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
So no, it'll be loud. And you're right. When you go the whole year not dealing with it, and even at home, you're not dealing with it on offense. It gets pretty quiet when the offense is on the field, even with the 6,700. It will be an adjustment. Plus, it's that momentum thing if things aren't going well and all. Yes, this will be the first time they'll have dealt with that part of the game. Because this is where that home field makes a big difference. Obviously, one of the first times all year. But then again, any Bills fans will tell you it absolutely helped them in the first 2 playoff games. Helped the Bills, even with that limited number. So
that is my question that I want to ask, because again, like, these guys have obviously been preparing all year. This is the biggest stage that they're going to play on for most of these guys, other than like Mitch Morris or players like that. But still, I mean, it's a huge challenge to be out on the field with all those fans, the biggest fans you've had this season, and for everything at stake. Like, it's just, these guys are humans too. And I think sometimes that piece of it is forgotten.
Well, you're right. It's not two different things. They come together, but it's the stage and it's the noise, because to Dan's point, you've gone the whole year not dealing with it. And you're going, it's not like it's a sold out stadium and it's so loud that you can't hear anything, but it's loud enough that it does impact you. And it might be a little jarring because I think heard it. Yeah.
And I think it's even louder because you haven't heard it in so long.
Right.
Like it was like, I am not taking anything away from Bills Mafia. 67,000 fans felt like a lot. And they said it felt like 6,500 fans. 6,700 fans felt like 67,000 fans. But that was probably also because players haven't really heard that volume in a long time. You heard you heard the guys on the call being like, this place is so loud. It's like, well, yeah, you guys haven't heard anything like this for so long. And I'm just saying, like, 17,000 fans, for as much as Bills fans want to say and can say they affected the Ravens the Chiefs fans are going to be able to say the same thing. So if you think it goes one way, you have to understand it goes the other way as the Bills hit the road. Like that's why, like bottom line. And that's why it was so important for the Bills to get that second seed, because God forbid if the Steelers would have won, they would have had to deal with who knows what. I'm just saying, we're going back in circles. It will be a factor. And Jenna, it'll be interesting to hear what Sean McDermott has to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's predict. Jenna asked the question.
Okay. My question will be, I haven't thought exactly how I'm going to word it yet, but basically it'll be, you prepare so much for this game in terms of the game plan, but having a lot of players on this team not have the experience of playing in a championship game in terms of conference. How do you mentally prepare them in terms of dealing with those nerves and making sure they're prepared to take on that human element of it as well? Now,
Jenna, with respect to your question, yes, we are ready for the challenge that comes about. We have a lot of guys on our team that have played in big moments in big games, and
which is not really like that true.
So Micah Hyde's played in playoff games. He must have been in. Wait a minute, he must have been in an NFC Championship game with the Packers. The one they lost to Seattle, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that. Maybe not. Maybe that would have been at the beginning. This what
Nick Morris would have played.
A couple of Carolina guys from the Super Bowl a few years ago. Maybe. Josh Norman was. I mean, he's not a starter, but, you know.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs was in one in Philly, and they lost back in the old days. But what I'm saying is, but you're right. Regardless of what Sean says in a response, it is a thing. There's no doubt. It's nerves. And guess what? This is the third in a row for the Chiefs, you know, and they lost a tough one to New England. Then they won last year, and now here they are, you know, with a chance to go back again. So huge advantage for Kansas City in that way.
Yeah, I agree. You can't fake that experience, but you can try to prepare for that.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle, again, playing, you know, tough to beat a team twice. You know, like this is, I don't know. And Mike, you talk about how passive
they play quite a bit in the division, but the division is totally different, obviously.
Right. But, you know, I don't know. I think this game will be much more of a chess match. And as much as, again, I want to see Daboll and them open it up, maybe that's just not how, I mean, maybe we're just so not used to playoff games that they're just not played in the 30s that the Bills had tried to play it in. And I think this still comes down to a turnover one way or another, because we saw, you know, how big it was. The turnover on downs in the Colts game, their goal line stand right before the half. And obviously the Taron Johnson pick 6 turnover changed this game. So the Bills haven't turned the ball over yet this postseason. Like that's huge. And for as much as Josh hasn't been,
Dan just jinxed him.
Why you gotta do that?
Wait a minute. I'm not the one who said put bulletin board material out there.
Oh yeah,
last week. No, the other guy I was saying is when you guys were talking when we started in the beginning about key guys that aren't the quarterbacks. How about Tyler Bass? Because we could have little wind. I think the weather seems like it's going to be similar to what we had Saturday night in Buffalo. And it gets that way in Kansas City. Windy, a little bit of snow, you know. And Butker, for a guy who was crushing the ball earlier, the guy can't make an extra point or 30 yards. No. He's got something in his head.
Yeah.
So it's strange. What's he missed? Like 6 extra points or something like that?
Yeah.
6, you know, crazy amount. So there's going to be, Dan, to your point, you know, I said that before about opening it up, but especially if Mahomes is not Mahomes, this game sort of crunches down a little bit more of a 27-24 as opposed to 37-34. You may be playing for that type of game.
Well, and again, I think Mahomes plays. I think the foot, heel, toe thing is going to be more of a factor, watching him limp around. And I think it's just the preparation of Mahomes not going through his regular routine this week.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be busy passing tests. Adam Schefter today saying he took big steps forward, but he still hasn't. They're hoping he practices tomorrow. But I tweeted out what Josh said after the Tennessee game last year. And he was asked pretty much what his week was like. And he said that he missed meetings. He missed film session. When he was supposed to be studying film, he said he had to go to doctor's appointments and pass tests by this person and that person. And it really just kind of threw everything off. And then the Bills won that game against Tennessee 14-7, where Tennessee missed 4 field goals. And Duke Williams caught the game-winning touchdown. So, like, Josh wasn't necessarily extremely sharp in the offense clicking. So every head injury is different. Mahomes can be a totally different animal, but it does, where we talk about routine. And that's what Sean McDermott said. It's business as usual this week. We have to stick to our schedule, stick to our routine, stick to what's got us here. Patrick Mahomes' routine has been ruined this week.
Well, and you make a good point on that, Dan. Not only think about what he's done recently. He only played a little more than half a game Sunday. He was off the week before and off the week before. So, and now he goes through a week where his practice is very likely to be limited. I mean, it won't be what he normally would do. And we're only talking about, like, it's still Mahomes. And when he gets on the field Sunday, he's still the most dangerous player on the field because he's Patrick Mahomes. But if he's off a little, if he doesn't have the timing, I mean, those are the things that they really stress. And if he's, that part, I think could make and to your point, dealing with whatever it is with his foot, his leg, his toe, whatever it is, could impact him enough. And it may not take much. These teams are pretty close.
Yeah, no, it's very true. We'll have plenty more to get to this week as we get closer to Sunday's game. Mike will be out in Kansas City. Some exciting stuff. So we'll have more stuff going on. Send any comments or questions you have, Dan.
Well, they talked about a couple comments coming in, talking about the weather, Arrowhead's windy, all these things. I don't think the Bills cared a whole lot about the weather. I think they understood that it was difficult at times on Saturday against Baltimore to throw. Josh sailed a couple deep ones that could have been completed. But Brian Daboll said it that, like, the reason he said it in his press conference, just the fact of, we like the way that Josh has played at Wyoming. We like that he's got a guy that can cut through the wind. We trust him. It doesn't matter what the elements are. We have faith that he's going to throw the ball. And it showed in the first half. I think the wind definitely picked up more in the second half, but it was definitely a factor. And Brian Daboll still didn't run the ball at all in the first half. So I don't think I didn't believe the weather was going to affect Brian Daboll's game planning. I'm now absolutely positive it doesn't matter what the weather is like in Kansas City. They're going to go with what they got them there.
Okay, Jenna, and before you sign off, I'm going to say Thursday night we're doing our show, Let's Talk Football Live. You can see it here. You can see it on Facebook, YouTube, plus on Fox Rochester if you're in Rochester. And we are going to do an under-over for Dan. I'm going to come up with a number, the amount of carries by a Bills running back in the game. Not Josh taking off, none of that. Not Isaiah McKenzie on a jet sweep. Oh, you're going to set the number already. Don't give him time. We're going to wait.
I have a good number at what it should be set at.
What? You're going to say 10 and a half.
10 and a half. Wow.
10 and a half.
You got to factor late game too.
Okay, like for first downs.
Oh, so you think late in the game, Bills are ahead and they're running the ball?
Yeah.
Look at this. Well,
Josh Allen, 13-1-3 in games that he is an underdog of a touchdown or less against the spread. 8-16. He's won 8 out of those 16 games straight up. The Bills and Josh Allen are really good as small underdogs since he has come into the league. Really good as a small underdog. The Bills 3-point underdogs in Kansas City this week.
And the Bills are riding a 4-game AFC Championship winning streak.
You're really hitting that home.
And they won their last one against Kansas City.
That's right.
What was that for Josh when he was small underdog?
14-1-3 against the spread.
Okay.
As a underdog of a touchdown or less. So if the Bills are 6.5 or less, Josh Allen covers the spread 14 out of those 18 times, and the Bills have won the game 8 out of those 16 times.
Is that one loss to Houston?
One loss is to Kansas City earlier this year.
Oh, to Kansas City. Oh,
That's
okay.
his only loss. They were a 5-point underdog to Kansas City at home and did not cover.
Interesting.
By the way, the Bills
have,
in their history are 4-2 in AFC championship games. You know the 4 that they won.
Yes.
And, 4-1 in AFC championship games because they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. You guys probably don't even remember. Nobody ever talks about that game. That was the year they were early. That was 2 years before they went to the first Super Bowl.
Okay.
And they made it to the AFC Championship, which is the team this team reminds a lot of people of, that they just took off in 88 and they started to get the offense going. And that's what Josh looks like Kelly did then after a few years. And that team went all the way to the AFC Championship game and they ended up losing to the Bengals. And that Bengals team ended up going to the Super Bowl. So they did it. Then they lost to the Browns the next year, and then it was 4 straight to go to the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, a lot of Bills fans
hope for the next 4. Not the
stupid stat, guys. I appreciate it. If you're a betting guy, it's a great stat. It's my favorite betting stat. The Josh Allen as a small underdog.
That's it.
Oh, I wanted to get this in. The Bachelor was not good last night. Someone asked earlier. The guy's really boring, so I don't know if I'll be on the Bachelor train.
Really?
Also, somebody asked if I smoked. I did not. I'm high on life, so thank you for that.
Is that smoking? Really?
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Is this a new Bachelor?
We do read the comments.
It's a new season. We're like 3 episodes in.
Oh.
He's boring. He's not funny. He's boring. It's not great.
Wait till Jenna's on the Bachelorette.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. We're definitely gonna end this here. We're gonna end this here. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. All right, for Mike Catalana and Dan.
I'm gonna tweet that out.
I'm Jenna Cottrell. We will see you tomorrow, and make sure to check us out on Thursday. We'll have our special show as well at 7:00. But thanks for watching. We will see you guys tomorrow.